Hello business owners, hello my fellow citizens and my customers. This video today is about laboratory certification issued to unqualified Wuhan staff 2017, exposes ANSI-ANAB as underwriters and their liability. Daryl Guberman, quality expert, explains. Yes, business owners, in fact, we have the actual ISO 17025 standard. There are many ISO 17,000 standards for laboratory. This one we picked in particular because many times laboratories are utilized, whether it's calibration, phlebotomy, biolevel 4 labs. And we want you to understand this, that yes, ANSI-ANAB, the American National Standards Institute and the American National Crediting Board, they were, ANSI took over complete control in 2018. All of the data of pertinent data is down below in the description. I do this because it is very simple, business owners. Integrity, honesty, and the truth. And I will say this once again. And this is who I am as a Thomas Paine saying from Common Sense. I love the man who can smile in trouble, who can gather strength from distress and grow brave by reflection. 'Tis the business of little quality minds to shrink, and he whose heart is firm and conscience approves his conduct shall pursue his principles until death. Thomas Paine. So we're going to take this apart a little bit. The ISO 17025 standard 4.0, management requirements. 4.11.2, calls and analysis. 4.14, internal audits. 4.15, management reviews. 5, technical requirements, general personnel, etc. A lot of it is based on training. There is 13 areas in this standard where training is imperative. And you must, as a guy who's doing the audit, looking for certain items for certification acceptance and certification approval, you must have. Well, they did not have it in 2017. This is the standard. We're not going to read you, put you to sleep, voluntary census can stand, voluntary standard consensus. We're just going to go right into this. This article came out in about 2018. About 2017, the laboratory was issued an ISO 17025, or thereabout derivative, 17025. And it was issued by Zhao Jinwu, a communist Chinese national. At the time, he was the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services and also the IAF, the International Accreditation Forum, located in Delaware, that basically is a repository for all these accreditation bodies. ANSI-ANAB sit there, and he was the chairman of the IAF from 2015 to 2021. I'm going to read this to you because this is very important. Towards the latter half of 2017, and this article will be in there, it said this. When the diplomats sat down with the scientists at the Wuhan virology lab, the American diplomats were shocked by what they heard. The Chinese researchers told them they did not have enough properly trained technicians to safely operate the biolevel 4 lab. The Wuhan scientists were asking for more support to get the lab up to top standards. The diplomats wrote 2 cables to Washington reporting their visits to Wuhan lab. More should be done to help the lab meet the safety standards, they said, and they urged Washington to get on it. They also warned the Wuhan lab researchers had found new bat coronaviruses could easily infect human cells, which use the same cellular route that had been used originally by the SARS coronavirus. They kept cables unclassified because they wanted more people back home to be able to read and share them, but nobody did. In 2019, the Center for Disease Control, who sits on ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, along with the NIH, National Institute of Health, along with the the FDA, the USDA, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson. As a matter of fact, Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson both got caught for, not caught, but both skipped quality processes and standards. And it was absolutely horrendous. And in the medical arena, when they release any sort of medicines, the way they find out a batch or lot is bad is either people get sick or people die. So they had recalls. Johnson & Johnson, as a matter of fact, one and done, you're done. 60 million vials were returned because of skipping quality processes. And Pfizer really never released, per se, from what I understand, is 15 million vials of the COVID vaccine was returned because they skipped quality processes and standards. This is a standard, basically. You can call it a standard. It's a procedure written by the CDC for biolevel 4 virology labs. And this was done hastily, I would say, because this was to cover their asses because, as the diplomat said, they had non-qualified individuals who were involved with high-level viruses. And we're going to read this to you. We turn to page 3, and this is what it says. The safety and function, and by the way, this training, this issue started in 2017. We developed our Biolevel 4 laboratory user training program in 2017 to provide continue on-the-job training. It looks like it failed. It failed miserably. So let me go back. The safety and function of a Biolevel 4 laboratory relies not only on the containment facility and biosafety management systems, but also on highly qualified and experienced staff. Many recorded laboratory accidents are related to personnel issues. Qualified staff ensure the efficacy and safety of a high containment laboratory. Developing an appropriate and rigorous Biolevel 4 laboratory user training system is an essential prerequisite for ensuring the safety of laboratory workers, operations, and the environment. We designed the training program for the Biolevel 4 laboratory users that follow local, national, and international guidelines and regulations. Again, the ISO 17025 states, as 17,000 in general states about training. In the 17025 specification, it stated training 13 times. That's how important training is. And it just doesn't look like it's happening in that lab. As we heard, the Department of Energy several weeks ago released the factor that the virus escaped from the lab. Then all of a sudden, Christopher Wray, who vehemently talks how bad China is, in fact, November 15, 2022, Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, said, we must maintain vigilance. We must maintain, China's a detriment, TikTok's a detriment to the operations of this country. Yet the FBI sat on ANSI and still sits there, but they sat on there between 2015 and 2021 when communist Chinese national Zhao Jinwu took over the whole ball of wax. Here he is. He's been involved with our quality since 1994. He was at the time also the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services. Randy Doherty over here was the vice president of ANAB. He was also the chairman and also the principal on the IAF tax report. And he handed over leadership to Zhao Jinwu. I'm not going to get into too much detail about Randy being advertised in the Department of Homeland Security in 2017, but in 2013, I was giving a speech at the American Society for Quality, where Mr. Dave Levy, a Region 3 director for the American Society for Quality, and at the time, the American Society for Quality and ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, owned ANAB 50-50. So we had 50% approval. He basically said, Mr. Guberman, ANAB has no problem with you. We support you, sir. In 2016, Randy Doherty, then the technical advisor for ANAB and the treasurer on the IAF and also the principal on the IAF tax report, wrote us a letter and said, Daryl, if you want to join ANAB or IAF or both, you can. But at the time, do you think I want to get involved with communist China, as many corporations and federal agencies that sit on ANSI do and did? And many of them got their data taken by no other than China, because he is mandated by his country of origin, communist China, to take their data through the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7. Look it up. To make matters worse, and this is why liability comes into play with ANSI-ANAB, because they truly are liable. We have it on government contracts that ANAB is an underwriter for the IAF. The International Accreditation Forum is a repository for accreditation bodies like ANSI-ANAB. ANSI took over complete control over ANAB in 2018. They are also incorporated in Delaware. The ANSI-ANAB are also underwriters for the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation in Australia. We have a candid picture here of Zhao Jinwu in Wuhan in 2017, issuing a quality certification to unqualified individuals, and part and parcel of that quality certification, audit for certification, you have to look at the training program. And he did know, without a doubt, from his fellow men and women inside that lab, that yeah, the training was terrible. You know, it's absolutely disgusting, and we have that from the diplomats, as you heard, that the scientists in the lab were basically begging them for qualified individuals in 2017, no less, when Zhao Jinwu was standing in the lab handing this fictitious certificate to them, smiling because he knows he made a lot of money, and that's what they do. Money over people is a disgusting thing, and ANSI shows its incompetence time and time and time again. You got Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson skipping quality process and standards. You have Boeing, who sits on ANSI's board right over by the FDA, who seceded inspection, which means gave inspection, gave all this data over to, well, gave them approval. Go ahead, build the 737 MAX. Build it, develop it, design it, fly it. You can even sign it off. We'll initial it. That's what the FAA did. But the FDA is sitting by Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson. They're two in bed together. And you have this guy over here, Communist National, who sat on an American company between 2015 and 21. And you have Christopher Wray, who's blowing smoke up the congressmen and women's tuchus, saying, oh, China's so bad, yet his organization has been hacked many times, taking a lot of data from his personnel. We're going to bring out the confessor for all of this is Miss Pamela Sale, and I'm going to add to her words a biosafety lab number 4 and phlebotomy lab in worldwide. She at the time was a vice president of laboratory accreditation. She gave a deposition, legal deposition in Texas because they had failures there. In fact, in 2015, the Department of Forensic Science, run by the FBI, got their ANAB accredited certificate taken away because of improper protocols inside the laboratory. In fact, during a 20-year stint there were many flaws that they overlooked, and many people went to jail because of flawed data within the laboratory. And she confesses to all of this. She confesses to the fact that, yes, the COVID virus was ultimately released by Wuhan because of, number 1, staffing issues. Number 2, the CDC said you have to have very well-trained, crafted individuals working with these hazardous viruses. Yet you have, in 2017, the scientists begging the United States diplomats for more help in having more qualified individuals. And then you have Zhao Jinwu issue a quality certification to a lab that already started out from the gate failing. And this guy should be brought up on charges, but not him. ANSI-ANAB, because they are underwriters for the IAF that he represented, standing in the lab in 2017. So this is it from Pamela Sale. One of the issues is that there is no commonly agreed upon set of standards that forensic labs, bio-level 4 labs, phlebotomy labs around the country and the world have to follow. Instead, there are informal guidelines that labs can choose to follow or not. So even though the CDC calls out for technicians that are highly qualified, even if you are highly qualified as a technician for laboratory, you can have a PhD. But she basically said they could take this, they could take that. It's ad hoc. That is not quality. That's standard. There was a a lawyer back in 2011 who wrote, Marvin Schechter, who wrote a report to the state of New York about ASCLD Lab, which Pamela watches over, as well as the vice president of quality. And he said that having a certificate from ASCLD, like having a certificate from the China National Accreditation Services, is no more than a badge of honor. And the worst thing is, this badge of honor is dishonorable for adding it to a system that is out of control with unqualified individuals. My telephone number is 203-556-1493. And I look forward to hearing from you, Daryl, DARYLTQRS, @yahoo.com. I thank you.